Although our name is Lucy's Retired Surfers Bar and Restaurant, there's nothing tired or retired about anything we do. Meet Me at Lucy's has been our slogan and battle cry for nearly 3 decades in New Orleans. Located in the heart of the Warehouse District, Lucy's has truly been the destination spot for nearly every occasion. Whether it's happy hour after work, before and after Saints and Pelicans games, or just a delicious bite to eat at all hours, Lucy's is the perfect place to meet up, hang out, and unwind for a great time. And while you're there, you should try one of our signature surfing cocktails, like the Shark Attack or Blue Whale. And for the truly courageous, our famous Scorpion Tequila Shot. Remember, Meet Me at Lucy's is our slogan, but don't forget to bring your favorite pooch, because our lifeguard chair is always open.
The owners of the Delachaise Wine Bar on St. Charles Avenue have opened up their newest creation uptown on Maple Street called Chez Delachaise, a new local wine bistro featuring a larger menu of small and large plates, a brighter atmosphere, and full table service. Additionally, patrons can enjoy a large patio out front as well as an extensive wine list offering selections from around the world. It's Chez Delachaise, 7708 Maple Street between Carrollton and Broadway.
Well, here's the bottom line. Well, it's funny that you say that. Let me tell you. Good evening, and welcome to another edition of Primetime Sports. I'm your host, Scott Alexander, and before we start, I want to say prayers out to the entire state of Florida. For the second time in a couple weeks, our great nation has been hit with serious hurricanes. Of course, Hurricane Harvey in Houston area, and now Hurricane Irma has gotten through the entire state of Florida and into Georgia and South Carolina. Prayers to everyone. Hey, by the way, let's get into the sports right now. Tough game last night, as you all know. On Monday Night Football, as the Saints, well, you know the score. They fell 29-19 in game number 1 to the Minnesota Vikings. And in Adrian Peterson's return home, hey, things started well enough as the Saints drove right down the field. They took a 3-0 lead. Adrian Peterson had a couple of nice runs there. But then again, after taking their second lead at 6-3, it was all downhill for the Who Dat Nation. Man, it was tough. The defense, well, they made Sam Bradford look like the second coming of Joe Montana, man. I'm telling you what, it was hard to watch for a while there. Unfortunately, there's no time to lick their wounds for Saints fans because Super Bowl winning New England Patriots are coming to town. It doesn't get any easier. They come in this Sunday at noon, and they're not going to be a happy bunch. As you know, Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, and the boys, they were all smoked last Thursday on national TV by the Kansas City Chiefs, so they're going to come in angry. But in better news, hey, LSU, as expected, they took care of their business this Saturday, beating the University of Tennessee Chattanooga Moccasins 45-10. The Tigers are 2-0, we get that, but their first real test comes this weekend against the Mississippi State Bulldogs and their mercurial quarterback. Hey, he's a run-pass guy. His name is Nick Fitzgerald, and most people in Starkville think he's better than former Bulldog quarterback and current Dallas Cowboy quarterback Dak Prescott, if you can believe that. His stats, well, they're certainly better. They're much better. It's going to be interesting to see if LSU can slow him down. Hey, the Tulane Green Wave, they played a fantastic game in Annapolis, Maryland this weekend against the powerful running attack of the Navy midshipmen. Hey, the Wave, they had a chance to pull a major upset over the double-digit favorites. Hey, but they got caught with too many men on the field late in the game and dropped a heartbreaker 23-21. That was tough. In other local football news, the Nichols Colonels, how about these guys? They almost pulled off another major upset against an SEC opponent for the second straight year. Last year, it was a close loss to the Georgia Bulldogs between the hedges. This year, it's Tim Rebo's boys. They were tied with Texas A&M mid-fourth quarter at 14, but they lost a tough one at the end, 24-14. And by the way, former Newman star in that game, Kendall Bussey, he had nearly 100 yards rushing for the Aggies. Hey, in other news, David Johnson, if you picked him number 1, which most people did in fantasy football, unfortunately, the word just came out. He is out 2 to 3 months with that bad wrist. Hey, let's switch sports. Tony Allen, you might not know his name unless you're a hardcore NBA fan, but this is one of the best defensive players in the year. The Pelicans just signed him to take the place of Solomon Hill. He's going to be a little smaller than Hill, but he is all defense in the NBA 6 of the last 7 seasons. What a great player. I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do for the Pelicans with that great starting lineup. Hey, the Indians, by the way, Cleveland Indians in baseball. How about this? 19 games in a row, the 4th longest in Major League history. 1900, since 1900, the Giants in 1916 had 26 in a row. The Cubs in 1935 had 21. One more win, they'll have the AL record tied with the 2002 A's. On the other side, the Dodgers have lost 11 in a row and 16 out of 17. That's crazy considering they had just gone 56-11, the best run in ever, and they're 1-16 since. Hey, by the way, tennis, U.S. Open, Sloane Stephens won her first Grand Slam over Madison Keys. And the legendary lefty Rafael Nadal won his 3rd U.S. Open and 16th Grand Slam, putting him 2nd all-time behind Federer. By the way, Don Ohlmeyer, the legend in our business, passed away at the age of 72. He was a pioneer at Monday Night Football. He had cancer. But coming up next, I have the 3 H's. Fred Hickman, John Hendrix to talk Saints, and 5-star hero right here on Primetime Sports.
504. Welcome to New Orleans. Mr. 5-star hero, welcome to New Orleans, the home of the Pelicans. Yeah, and I'ma show them who we better than the Pelicans. Pelicans, 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 Pelicans. Welcome to New Orleans, home of the Pelicans. City of New Orleans, let's show them who we better than. We better than the Rockets, I'm betting out of pocket. Take them to the lane and you know I'm not stopping. The fans just watch me, got me feeling cocky. The shots keep dropping, drop after dropping. Don't let the clock stop, I'm playing to the buzzer. Shooting half court and I ain't worried about nothing. I'm talking about talent, straight cause madness. NBA 2K, I think we got a classic. Coming from Katrina, we lost a couple people. Made it through the storm, now I'm bringing you the sequel. Basketball monster, whoever wants sponsor. My city of New Orleans, primetime artist. Shot like Jordan, watch how I cross them. Left, right, step to the side and I'm on them.
Welcome back to Primetime Sports. By the way, that was my first rapper on the show. That is 5-star hero. He's got a bunch of different nicknames, but he is going to come on later in the show, as is John Hendrix of Canal Street Chronicles. We're going to give you all the highlights, or should I say lowlights, of that Saints game last night. But first, my very special guest, I cannot wait. I've been looking forward to having him on since we started the show over a year and a half ago. You might remember him if you're of age like me from CNN Sports. Before there was SportsCenter, he was a rock star along with his partner Nick Charles at CNN Sports. It's based out of Atlanta, obviously. Ted Turner's conglomerate over there. You might remember from ESPN SportsCenter. If you were in New York, you might remember the Yes Network. If you were in Atlanta, maybe a little bit of Fox Sports Net. But when I moved back, I was like, wow, we have Fred Hickman down here in New Orleans, my hometown, which I hadn't lived in at the time for a long time. And I was like, how the heck did New Orleans get Fred Hickman? And I was excited. But what you might not know, in 1993, he was voted sexiest sportscaster alive. That's right. That's the sexy Fred Hickman right there. And here he is. What is up, my man? How about that shot?
Where did you dig that up?
We dug it up, baby. I've got resources now.
That was my first job in Springfield, Illinois.
Your hometown, by the way,
Yes.
the Basketball Hall of Fame.
No, that's Springfield, Mass.
Springfield, Mass. That's
Yes.
right. That's right. Springfield,
Yeah.
Illinois. Well, isn't that where the Simpsons are from?
I get asked that all the time, and nobody's for sure.
It's okay. We're just going to go with it, okay? Because I don't want to be 0 for 2 here.
We'll claim it.
All right, we'll claim it. Hey, but by the way, the CNN Sports years, I got to start there. I mean, I'm going to take you a little bit down memory lane because you were kind of in the beginning phases of the whole Ted Turner conglomerate thing. Certainly in the sports area, in 1980, you got to Atlanta. Tell me what that was like.
Well, I was there for day one.
Yeah.
Very first sportscast we did at CNN. It was a blast because none of us knew what we were doing.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, you just.
I know that feeling.
So Ted Turner threw us the keys and said go, and it turned out to be very, very good. But it was so strange. Nick Charles, who I worked with for many, many years.
Yeah, Nick Charles, Louisiana native, correct? Oh, well, I know he has
He's got family here.
Family here, yeah.
He's got family
But
here.
there we go.
Yeah, there's Nick. God rest his soul.
Right.
But he actually worked in my hometown. He was exactly 10 years older than me. And so I saw him on TV all the time.
Oh, wow. Okay.
When I was in high school.
That's pretty cool.
Right. So we did the whole high school, college thing. Then went to Springfield when I was out of school. 2 years in television there, and then I went to CNN and got to work with.
I mean, how old were you at that time when you? I mean, you're talking now worldwide. Now I know CNN wasn't CNN that it became a few years later, but still, I mean, you're across the world. How old were you? And tell me what that experience was like.
24, 25.
Wow.
Something like that. Yeah.
We just mentioned Don Ohlmeyer in the Open, obviously passing away. He is a legend in our business, and he got handed the keys of the kingdom at the age of 25, the Monday Night Football gig. So back then, and I guess they were just, hey, let's ride with it and see what happens.
We were too young to know we were stupid. But it worked out really well. It's funny because we competed with ESPN all the time.
Sure.
And generally we won.
You were winning. That's what I want to stress. CNN Sports, if you're over 45 or so, you know that they were kicking ESPN SportsCenter's butt for many years. But people under 40 aren't really going to remember that. But it was special watching you guys each and every night, particularly during my college years.
Oh, it was a blast. And we got to see a lot of, look at Tyson up there. We got to see a lot of things developing in the world. Like I'll never forget the Super Bowl where Whitney Houston sang.
Yes.
The national anthem.
Yes. Was that the Giants game?
Yeah. We were there for that.
Wow.
But the Gulf War was also going on at the same time, the first one. So we would get interrupted in our shows all the time.
Sure. The Scud missile. That was when the Scud missile came around, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The guys would throw on masks for 9/11, which we just went through.
Some great memories,
for that. Well, that actually was the end of CNN Sports as we know it.
That's it, yeah.
They snuffed it out, and nobody knew because, of course, everybody's worried about
the 9/11 thing. Because I was at Fox Sports Net for many years, after Turner Sports, and a bunch of y'all's folks came down the street. A lot of the producers mainly, and guys like Terry Chick, et cetera. But we had guys like that, and then you ended up. After I left, you were there for a bit as well.
Yeah.
But talk about that early era, though. I mean, just kind of being pioneers in this business. I mean, because we had not had like every night sports. I mean, it was like you got your 2 minutes on local stuff. Yeah. And, you guys in ESPN, like you said, were competing, but this was a whole new territory. Now we think this is normal. Sports every day, but we were getting our 2 minutes here in New Orleans from a guy named Hap Cloudy, and that was it.
Oh. But, it was a friendly competition between us. Of course, it would never happen today, but back on those days, we had tape.
Yeah.
And,
I still use that word, by the way.
Right. There you go. That's so do most football coaches. But if something was wrong and the ESPN ran out of tape, we'd share. They'd share with us because we're all in the same boat together. Of course, it's much different now.
Well, you see those shots of Nick Charles. Y'all's relationship was extremely special. Take us through what made you guys click as a team, because you really were the perfect complement to each other. He's a little older, obviously. Like you said, you grew up watching him, but it was a special relationship. And then talk about his final years as well.
Well, our relationship, we hit it off right away. You can't fake chemistry ever. And our very first show, we knew we were going to be fine.
He's got a great mullet, too. Look at that thing.
Oh, dude.
Look at this one.
The hair was the whole thing.
That's the West Virginia waterfall in the back.
If the hair wasn't right, he was a cab driver in Chicago before getting into television.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. That's where he got his people skills then.
Yeah, that's it.
He learned it there.
But, just a great guy, very knowledgeable, thorough, made me better. A better writer, I think my strength was being just a communicator.
Right.
And kind of seeing around the corner a little bit. But, we put those two skills together.
I just thought of something because you were in Atlanta for so long, and then, the Braves had their heyday. They won 14 straight division titles. But then you go to New York, and that's when the Yankees kind of took the mantle away from the Braves. And so you're a front runner.
Pretty much, yeah.
No, you're at YES Network. Talk about those few years.
Well, for one thing, I was there for 3 years, launched that as well. And I had it in my contract that if the team won, I would get a ring.
There you go.
So I get there, and this guy, they're playing Arizona in the World Series.
Oh, my gosh.
This guy Gonzalez saws off his bat. And I'm like, there goes
the only run that
there.
Mario Rivera had given up in the playoffs up to that point.
Yeah.
I mean, he had been dominant since '96. Yeah. Trust me, I remember this, and I won't tell you why. I'll tell you why. I had a series bet on the Yankees, and I was like really upset.
A couple of ducats there.
Yeah.
George Steinbrenner was exactly the same guy that you saw in Seinfeld. It was incredible.
That is funny.
Our first day on the air, I remember doing a pregame show, and I got this call in my office when we were done. You know, answered it, and I heard this voice. Hitchcock, we never talk about player salaries ever again. Click. Like, what was that? You know.
And that's really George. That's George.
I had never met him.
Just like Seinfeld.
Yeah. So I go in and I talk to John Filippelli, who was our producer, and I said, I just got this crank call. He said, nah, it wasn't crank, it was George. But that's the way he did it. He no hello, no goodbye.
That was it. That is hilarious. So he called you at the.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. All right, Sports Center.
And he called me Hitchcock because that was Sterling Hitchcock.
Oh, my.
He was a pitcher.
Yeah. Well,
you got us confused.
I knew who you were talking about, but yeah, okay. And now I'm getting it. Sports Center, and that's where everybody's watching at that point, 2004. I mean, they had been a conglomerate for years. What was that like taking that step? I mean, it was different. I mean, you were a seasoned veteran at that point, but what was it like going into that thing? Because by that point, they had grown. Their campus had gotten so big.
Yeah.
What was it like?
Nothing like the experience at CNN because we built that.
Right.
We built TBS and TNT.
You were like an outsider almost coming.
Yeah.
Right?
And a bunch of younger people, and people don't realize that they literally speak a different language at ESPN. And I'm like, the first couple of production meetings, what are you talking about? You know, we're going to do a home cook here. We're going to do this, that, and the other thing. It's a big machine.
Right.
You know, it was different. It was okay. But if I had to choose between the two.
And then you got back to Atlanta, though, Fox Sports Net, which is the offices I worked in. Did you have the office there, or were you just were you full-time there? And okay, because I knew.
Yeah, doing Braves.
So you're right there on Peachtree and 14th.
Yeah.
So, but I see a shot with Ryan Gann here. We have a picture of you, and you did a lot of the Brave stuff. But tell me what that was like.
It was fun. I enjoyed it. I'm a huge baseball fan. And Ron and I were, still are, terrific friends. Brian Jordan was
on part of your group.
And then it was all of these guys that you mentioned, the production guys, that I worked with at CNN. So it was kind of old home week.
Yeah, because they had all come over right after they closed. And by the way, speaking of CNN, there was one of my favorites. I'm going to bring this name up, Van Earl Wright. Van Earl Wright was the voice you always heard. Hello, sports! And he would go on. Now he's doing lucrative things in other cities.
Yeah.
But he cut his teeth down there. You see what Willie got right here.
Yeah,
Van Earl Wright.
look at that hair.
You guys, you had something special, but talk about him and that whole thing.
Well, the one thing I'll always remember about Van Earl, he's a tremendous jokester. Ted had this thing that he thought up, and it was called Supermarket TV or something like that.
Yeah.
And he set up these TVs. Like you go to a gas station, there's a TV and you're watching. But this had a loop of our stuff that we would record. So Van Earl was doing one day, and he just got the idea he stopped right in the middle of it and said, "Hey, put that ice cream back. You don't need to eat that."
I can see it. If you know Van Earl.
Yeah, people were like,
is he serious?
God. Yeah.
That's pretty funny.
He didn't do that anymore.
Let me tell you something about this guy. I remember when I first got up there to Atlanta as '93, and I'm going to games. I'm working my way up the ladder, working all Hawks games and stuff. And I just remember every time I'd see you, dude, you were. If Michael Jordan was in town, you had your arm around him. He had his arm around you. I mean, you were a rock star at the games. I mean, the players wanted to get to know you. That's how big. And I'm trying not to blow you up here. I'm just letting people know what this was about. And I was a witness to it all. Ahmad Rashad in town. These two are hanging out, doing everything. And Shaquille O'Neal, and I have a shot with you of Shaquille right here. But here, I got a bone to pick with you because you are legendary for keeping him from having unanimous MVP. That one year, the only vote that went to Allen Iverson, I told my producer before the show, I haven't paid for any sporting events since '93.
I'm still right.
My point is if there was one guy that I would still pay money every time to watch would be Allen Iverson. But you were the one that kept him from the first unanimous MVP. It's only happened once, and that's Steph Curry just a couple years ago. But did you catch a lot of flack for that? And I want to hear about it.
My agent at the time called me. I was taking our son to school, and he said, "Well, you ready for a big day?" And I'm like, "Okay." So he told me what had happened. And the one thing that people don't understand is that it was supposed to be a secret ballot.
Yes.
There were no names on it.
Right.
So I got sold out.
By who? Okay.
I won't say, but I have.
Hey, broke your secrets. Tell us.
No,
I need some ratings here. Let's do this.
Because I don't know for sure.
Right. Well, let's just.
But anyway.
Let's say it. Who is it?
Yeah. Well, no, but I won't do it.
Sterling Hitchcock.
Yeah.
All right.
But for that vote, though, to be factual about it, I voted for Iverson because I thought without him, that team, the Sixers team, was a lot of
horrific. Yeah.
Without Shaq, Lakers was still a pretty good ball club.
Yeah. He was
and
dominant,
most valuable. What does that mean? Okay, well, I couldn't see anybody that was less valuable. Now the funny thing is, he won it next year.
Yeah.
Iverson did.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. So you were Nostradamus.
Yeah. Which was my last year voting. That next year.
Did you vote for him again?
No, I got the ballots, and I wrote. You had to write in, who you want.
Sure.
All defensive team,
Right.
coach of the year, blah, blah, rookie of the year. I wrote Shaquille O'Neal's name for every single question.
That's pretty funny. That's pretty funny. I like rookie of the year, Shaquille O'Neal. By the way, I still feel bad for Shaq for one. Not
We're
that
good
Steve
friends,
Nash
so we get
is
along
not.
great.
Oh yeah, obviously I saw the picture.
Yeah.
Not that Steve Nash is not a great player, but the year that Steve won back-to-back MVPs, but the year he beat out Shaq when Shaq had gone to Miami and just turned that thing around, I thought that he kind of got screwed there. But Shaq was a great player. Hey, by the way, we both have another mutual friend who just passed away. I got to work with Craig Sager during the Bulls' second run of, we worked every playoff game together. In fact, I was the one that told him to calm the suits down, so that's why you see a normal, not pink-colored suit in these.
Yes.
But that's him interviewing Michael Jordan. But you got to know Craig very well. Y'all were together for many years at CNN Sports and obviously Turner Sports over there in the same building at CNN Center. So talk about the man in his crazy suits.
Ultimate sports fan.
Wasn't he?
Ultimate sports fan.
Wasn't he?
His house was a museum of oddities from
Yes,
sports.
Yes, I've been.
Well, the staircase that was made out of the baseball bats. And,
Right.
he had picked up a little gift from Seattle Slew at the Kentucky Derby and had it fixed up some kind of way so he could make a display out of it. I thought that was hilarious.
He truly was the sports fan, though. I mean, because I remember when I first was working, we flew to Chicago, and we weren't on the same plane, but he said, hey, meet me at this bar, and we're just sitting there having a beer, and he's like, so tell me how you like sports. And I said, I just rattled off all this stuff I love about sports. And he's like, I was Willie the Wildcat at Northwestern, which means he was the mascot. Because I was about to say, I remember seeing you in the trench coat when Hank Aaron hit the home run.
I was just going to bring that up.
And you were right out of college, and that's legendary.
With
I mean, one of the greatest moments of
around,
right. And he had the trench coat. I was like, hope he has clothes underneath there.
Who's this guy? And Hank did the same thing. He was, who's this guy?
Who is this guy?
But yeah, Craig was fun to work with. Loved what he did. The guys loved him, And I think that the one thing that kind of set us apart was, you mentioned, I knew all these guys and we were friendly because I wasn't in awe of them. And they weren't in awe of me either.
No doubt,
we were just
that's the key right there.
We were just hanging out, and having a good time.
Real good time. I mean, they're fun guys.
Oh yeah.
But you came down to New Orleans. This is what I want to. This is like for me. I was like, this is the Holy Grail. I said, Fred Hickman's here. I remember meeting your son. He was working at a restaurant I used to go to all the time back. And what got you down to Bayou Country? Because I'm going to segue that to you doing news now after 35 years or so of sports. I mean,
it was something to do. I had always been kind of curious about New Orleans.
Yeah.
And so when it came open, I said, well, okay, we'll go give that a shot. I hadn't worked in local TV in years and years and years. And I quickly found out that if you're not a Saints fan, then you're pretty much, non sequitur.
They like their New Orleans. We're very provincial here. Very provincial here in the Crescent City. Tell me this.
Well, I got a call before the second preseason game the year that I got here. And it was some lady who was irate that I did not wear something black and gold for the pregame
This is
show.
when you knew you were in trouble, right?
I'm like, I'm a Bears fan, so...
Right. They don't understand that. You better be, I know, because Doug Mouton just apparently, I guess I shouldn't say it, but they have a couple new people coming in, and they're not from New Orleans. And I was laughing, I'm like, you better make sure they're Saints fans. You better make sure they're Saints fans.
Yeah, I found that very difficult.
But you have this new epiphany. I mean, you're loving news. You said this is kind of a calling that was always there for you, and you didn't know it.
political junkie. I've watched
Right.
C-SPAN forever. What
That's
better
that
state
great
to
smile, Brett, you got. That's the Fred Hickman
thank
smile,
you.
baby. We love it.
Thank you. But what better place to start off your news career, making that transition? Part of the challenge is a lot of people don't think we could do it. Oh, you're a sports guy, you're a jock, blah, blah, blah. No. I think we are able to think on our feet a lot quicker.
Yes.
And if you have that thirst for knowledge and can control a situation. We did I was one of the moderators for the gubernatorial debate.
Nice.
With John Bell Edwards and David Vitter.
Yes.
Man.
Passionate.
That was a heavyweight fight.
Yes, it was. I remember it.
Yeah. I thought the governor was going to come across the table. I really did. He just had this kind of look, and he was patting his hand, and I'm like, oh, man.
Edwards?
This is, yeah.
Yeah, because I know Vitter wasn't that thrilled either.
No,
some stuff.
No.
Real quick, I got to ask you, you're at Baton Rouge, so you're obviously inundated, not with the Saints, but the LSU Tigers, and you watched the game. I mean, what is your take off of this LSU Tiger football team?
They are different. It's a different looking team than, when Les was coaching them. I think the offense is going to be a little wider open.
Yeah. I think they're holding things back
fun.
right now because of their opponents early on. I think we're starting to see, but we're still running the ball a lot. But I think the McCann offense, I want your opinion on this, might open up when they get to the tougher games like starting this weekend.
I totally agree. Once they get into the conference schedule, they'll start turning Etling loose a little bit more. He's got great weapons out there to deal with. And they just reload all the time. I think they're going to be very
Isn't it amazing, though?
Yeah.
Every time we think, these guys are all gone, and then all of a sudden you see first game and these guys are all swarming to the ball.
It's always one of those things where you're good, but if you don't beat Alabama, then it's a failure.
Well, Fred, I wouldn't be doing my job for you as a man if I didn't mention your beautiful wife, Sheila, of 10 years.
Yes,
and
my
here's
best.
a thing you can take her to.
thank
It's
you.
a wonderful restaurant,
Thank
uptown
you.
New Orleans on Maple between Carrollton and Broadway. It's called Chez de la Chez. You are the man.
Outstanding.
And
Thank
we
you,
have a
man.
tradition on the show. We sign the balls. Would you prefer a Saints? Well, probably an LSU ball. You already said you're a Bears fan.
I'll sign an LSU ball. Sure.
LSU ball. Let's go with that. Fred Hickman, this is your life, and I'm glad we had the opportunity. I wanted to give the younger folk a little. Now turn that around so it's not upside down. There we go.
There we go.
I want to give the young folk, to remember who this legend was, and he will never call himself a legend. But trust me, I was in Atlanta. I saw it. He was a legend,
That's
and he
an
still
honor,
is.
Thank you.
That is the man, Fred Hickman. I do appreciate him coming on. Saints fans, I don't know if you're really going to want this or not, but we're talking Saints coming up next. It wasn't a very pretty game last night, but just know this. It's Monday night. It's on the road. It's a tough environment. Let's hope it gets better. But John Hendrix from Canal Street Chronicles and WDSU, he does a lot of contributing work with those guys as well, is coming up next right here. And don't forget, 5-star hero. We're going to do some anthems later. We got some Pelicans, we got some LSU, and we got some Saints right here on Primetime Sports. Crescent City Steakhouse, a true neighborhood restaurant operated by the Vojkovic family since 1934, is the oldest steakhouse in the city of New Orleans. Serving only hand-cut, prime-aged, corn-fed beef for over 80 years, Crescent City Steakhouse has become a dining destination for both die-hard locals and adventurous travelers who seek traditional, timeless New Orleans cuisine. Crescent City Steakhouse, 1001 North Broad, on the corner of St. Philip, in the heart of New Orleans.
Rock and roll will never die. It's old New Orleans, my, oh my. Come on, baby, let's go rock and roll at the city lane. All night, let's roll, let's rock and roll. Baby, do the rock and roll. At the mid-city lanes, the home of rock and roll.
Although our name is Lucy's Retired Surfers Bar and Restaurant, there's nothing tired or retired about anything we do. Meet Me at Lucy's has been our slogan and battle cry for nearly 3 decades in New Orleans. Located in the heart of the Warehouse District, Lucy's has truly been the destination spot for nearly every occasion. Whether it's happy hour after work, before and after Saints and Pelicans games, or just a delicious bite to eat at all hours, Lucy's is the perfect place to meet up, hang out, and unwind for a great time. And while you're there, you should try one of our signature surfing cocktails, like the Shark Attack or Blue Whale. And for the truly courageous, our famous Scorpion Tequila Shot. Remember, meet me at Lucy's is our slogan, but don't forget to bring your favorite pooch because our lifeguard chair is always open. Welcome back to Primetime Sports. That was a lot of fun for me, taking that memory lane walk with Fred Hickman, one of the true pioneers and legend in the sports television business, certainly on the sports news side. Hey, my next guest, you may or may not want to hear from him, because last night the Saints made Sam Bradford look like the second coming of Joe Montana. The Saints lost the game 29-19 up in Minnesota in their new stadium. It's a beautiful facility. You don't want to hear about all that. You just want to hear why did they lose by 10 points, and really the score probably could have and should have been even worse. But our next guest, he is the editor of Canal Street Chronicles. He used to be with Who Dat Dish. He is 100% Saints. He's a fan, and he's a journalist as well, and I'm lucky to have him. He's also a contributor with WDSU. That is Channel 6 here in New Orleans. His name, John Hendrix.
Good to see you.
Welcome back to the show. I had John on in the old studio about 15 months ago, but welcome back here.
Appreciate you having me, man. It's good to be back.
Except it would be nicer under a different circumstance, perhaps a win last night, which they didn't get. What are your immediate thoughts off the top of your head when we talk about the Saints game?
Well, look, I think the first thing that sticks out, obviously, is this is not the start that you want off for this team. I mean, you look at 3 straight 7-9 seasons, 4 out of the last 5, and now you start this season off with a loss. And, you know, this team has proven that, look, when you start at that loss, aside 2011 and the Sean Payton era, has all led to a losing season without the playoffs. I thought the red zone inefficiency was a big deal. You clearly miss Willie Snead, and the defense that we saw in the preseason wasn't there last night for sure.
Well, we go back. Every year they went to the playoffs. I mean, I'm pretty sure, like the 06, 09, 10, 11, and 13, they started 3-1. You have to win 3 games in a row against pretty darn tough competition. Oh, by the way, only the New England Patriots are coming in town, and they're a little bit angry, and they have a lot of rest. They played the previous Thursday. The Saints are on a short week. Do they have a chance? Because I don't think New England is planning on going 0-2 either. What are the chances that the Saints can pull this one out? Because it might not be pretty.
I mean, look, I think there's a lot of learnings from last night's game. I mean, if I'm the New England Patriots, then I was absolutely watching that game last night, and I'm thinking, man, I can just get in there. I can do a lot of things. I can expose them in coverage. I think, you know, this will set the tone is for this game last night. I think the first play, they had 10 players lined up on defense for the Saints. So a lot of miscues, a lot of
Not
personnel.
Good.
It's just, you
that
know,
sets the
fundamental
tone
football.
for a bad season. Yeah.
It really does. And if I'm the Patriots, you know, I think this team could make this game really good, especially if they watch what Alex Smith was able to do with them, you know, on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah.
But look, they got a lot of work to do right now.
Well, listen, you don't want to harp on injuries. They're there. Zach Strief got hurt, and then you just felt, oh my goodness. Now you have 2 tackles that aren't experienced at playing, particularly in a hostile environment like Minnesota at night. You know, everything gets amped up at night, especially when the team starts rolling and the crowd continues to go. Did you get that helpless feeling like I did when you saw that the 2 tackles without the leader Strief in there? I said, this could be a long road to hope.
I mean, look, it's unfortunate because you had Bryce Harris get cut, and they promoted Adam Bighill, you know, fan favorite, to the 53-man roster. And unfortunately, you're thinking, well, you just got to hope Zach Strief holds up, and then unfortunately he doesn't. They put Kelemete, who's usually a swing guard and center, into the mix, and he has to play right tackle. And you know, it just wasn't a good feeling for sure. You hope the best for Strief. Initial indications out a few weeks with that sprained MCL on his left knee. Not a good look. Bryce Harris should get a real quick call.
Bryce Harris is a guy, obviously, that was cut, brought back. I mean, obviously, he's a guy that they like. I mean, he's been a peripheral player for a long time. But did you think possibly they might have used Andrews Pete there as opposed to Kelemete? Because Kelemete has been in the interior his entire career. He is kind of that jack-of-all-trades guy, which is what makes him valuable to this team. But at least Pete has a lot of experience, at least at tackle position. What are your thoughts on them not doing that?
Well, I think going back to training camp and some of the practices that we're able to see, you know, talking with Andres Pete, the Saints never took him out of that left guard spot. So if you're looking at this week and they're saying, well, look, we're going to have to kick out Ramczyk over maybe the right tackle and then maybe put Pete on the left side and then give him help with Kelemete, I think that's a real possibility. But I think with Pete and his comfortability right now, this is where he's going to stay, is at left guard.
Looks like Streif is out for a while, and when you got the Patriots who are hungry, it doesn't look good. But what about the defense? Because I thought in the beginning you saw the passion on the defense. I mean, like you saw in the preseason, they were flying around the ball. They had some very costly penalties on, the kind that you just wish you could avoid, the personal foul kind. Like when Marcus Williams is going out of bounds, he kind of puts the extra little arm into the guy flies. And 10 years ago, that would have been nothing. But now in the day of protecting players, Kenny Vaccaro hit obviously Diggs high as well. Those are back-breaking type penalties. And you have a defense like this, you really can't afford them. Did you feel the defense lost a little luster going down the stretch, or what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think there was a confusion overall. That opening drive, the Marcus Williams penalty, they could get off the field there if they just didn't do that. And then Alex Anzalone, I thought that was a pretty questionable hit myself.
That was questionable.
I don't know
bang,
about that.
bang. What are you supposed to do if you're a defensive player?
He played it perfectly, I thought, and, the running back was going to the ground, so I don't know what you're supposed to do there. But I thought that the defense overall, they were able to swarm to the ball a lot better. I thought they were in a bend, not break. And then, suddenly, when it was 10-6, I didn't think it was that bad. I thought they played well up until that point. But when they started getting in the 2-minute drill, and they just looked so confused.
Right.
And the coverages were blown. Devontae Harris got lit up like a Christmas tree. I mean, it was just bad.
And that's the other thing. You go into training camp, and you think you're deep at a position like cornerback, and all of a sudden – in game one, you're seeing Devontae Harris running around. That's got to be a little bit defeating. I mean, when you're expecting Burrow to be there, you're expecting P.J. Williams to perform, and then all of a sudden you have the undrafted free agent from last year out of Texas A&M getting primetime crispy. I mean, it's not a good feeling. Yeah,
and for me, too, I think the other thing that stands out, pass rush, still an issue. Cam Jordan was the only person that could get to Sam Bradford last night, and that was it. I mean, you bring in Alex Okafor, you figure Sheldon Rankins is going to make up for some of that lost Nick Fairley production. David Onyemata is there. They threw in Haloi Kikaha in their NASCAR package. I mean, just not
None
effective.
of it worked.
Nothing worked last night, and Bradford, give him credit because he was able to get the ball out real quick.
Well, one thing Bradford can do, he's a precision passer. I mean, he was the Heisman Trophy winner, the very first pick of the draft. He's underachieved, obviously, mainly because of injuries, I think, but he's considered timid, but he looked confident last night. He did, by the way, he did break Drew Brees' percentage record last season, almost 72%. Now, he dinks and dunks a lot. That helps. But so does Drew Brees at times. But the fact is this offensive line for Minnesota had never played together ever, not even in the preseason, much less last year. They never had all five guys together, and they looked very good. Now, they have good players. I'm going to give them that. But the fact is that you feel as a Saints fan that maybe they should have had some more pressure, at least gotten the quarterback more than one time for a 5-yard sack.
Yeah, I mean, that's the name of the game. I mean, you spend money, you get healthy players back, you have all these things. I mean, I feel great about their depth, and last night you just didn't see it. Al-Qadim Muhammad, who was a standout in preseason, he didn't get a single snap last night other than special teams. So it's like you start to wonder, as the course of the game goes along, do you try to get some of these other players in just to try to generate some, extra rush or something? I don't think they blitzed a lot last night. It's something that I saw. And you just look at the preseason to now, how that was two totally different defenses.
That's right. You saw a lot of swarming in preseason. It is preseason. We were warning that, but this is a very unusual, tough first game on the road at Monday night. I'm not making excuses, but that is a tough environment. Speaking of the environment, Adrian Peterson. He was a superstar for this team, one of the best of all time. And if he hadn't had the suspension from the, or the injuries, we might be talking his numbers already might be in the top 3 in every category. As is, he's already like top 10 most stuff. You see he's a rock star when he goes back. He's doing selfies and signing autographs with everyone, and rightfully so. It's like if Drew Brees left here and played another year somewhere else, and he come back to New Orleans. All the fans love Drew Brees. There was no acrimony when he left. They just didn't renew a large contract. You can't blame the Vikings. However, I've got to bring up the death stare, and I want your opinion on this. And at first when I saw it, it didn't look good. And he's staring him down, and he used the 3-letter word that's our rear end, and he used it in some form, and everybody was trying to figure out what he uses. There's different ways you can use that 3-letter word. So what is your take from the death stare and use of the 3-letter word?
Well, look, if you're talking to Adrian Peterson, he clarified and said he was telling Sean, You need to run it up the donkey is actually what he
donkey,
said.
The donkey, that's a good way
Which
to put it.
makes sense because he knows that defense. He knows, I mean, there's some familiarity. He felt that he could do better. I mean, he only got 9 snaps last night. He's a passionate player. At the end of the day, I don't think it's much to read into, but, you're going to have all the hot takes flying like you see in Peterson should retire. They should trade him, all this crazy garbage that comes out now.
I'm afraid when you give the guy 9 snaps and he runs 6 of those snaps, that now you all of a sudden have an early Mark Ingram situation where every time he came in the game as the third back on the team when he was in his first couple of years, that he's going to run the ball. And you'd like to see more of maybe having him as a decoy at times, where it's like, hey, Adrian's in. We know he's going to get the ball. Defenders know how to put 8 men in the box when that happens. What are your thoughts on that? Because tell me that and then talk about the 3-headed monster they have at running back, because they all got about the same amount of carries. Are they going to remain happy all season?
I don't know. That remains to be seen for sure. But I think with Adrian Peterson, just going to start at the beginning, when you're running them, I think there's only one play that they actually motioned him out at the outside, and they went empty on that set. And, if you're going to use Adrian Peterson strictly to run the ball, yeah, he was effective on his first carrier, but Minnesota, they knew what was coming even before it happened. Saints' offensive line couldn't generate much pressure on it, so it was kind of tough. Down the stretch, Alvin Kamara actually got all the snaps, or Kamara, 31 snaps yesterday. Mark Ingram only gets 26, and then Adrian Peterson gets 9. So going forward, I feel like they could do better if they, really do more to the run aspect of it with the Ingram, maybe put Peterson in more of that high tower role. But look, you got to find something because you got New England coming to town. You got to score.
Well, his mom still says Kamara. He says Kamara. So I think we're right either way.
Tomato.
Because I'll be saying both all year.
Yeah.
So it's just to know that right now. Excuse me on that. What's the hope right now? Because you also know that the Saints have been 0-3 the last 2 seasons, 0-2 the year before. 4 straight 0-2 starts might demoralize the fan base. I'm not saying you can't beat New England because you are at home. We know this crowd will be passionate. It's early in the season. What are your thoughts going into this game? What's your gut telling you?
Well, look, if I'm a fan in the stands right now,
and I know we have Patriots logos here. I know we do.
I mean, if I'm a fan going to this game, this team needs you. I mean, there's only other way you can put it. That you have to be that 12th man. You have to show up. You have to get behind your team. Because I know how easy it's going to be to be like, oh, my goodness, here we go again. And the Saints, I mean, they're going to have top game plan on this. I mean, I think they can use some of what they saw against the Chiefs. But Matt Patricia, a very smart person in New England, I think he's going to use what they saw against the Vikings on Monday night. I think there's a plenty chance, just like we saw in 2009 with this team, because they didn't give them much chance then. But I feel like they can get something going on offense and be reminiscent of what we are used to seeing.
That team started 13-0. But this one, let me say this. The one thing I promise not to use on this show, because I'm sick of hearing it because we've done it the last 3, what the chances of the playoffs if you're 0-2?
Yeah.
What are the chances of the playoffs if you're 0-3? That is my pledge to you, New Orleans and Louisiana. I'm not going to do that because I'm sick of hearing the numbers. They just get depressing as each game goes along. John Hendrix, man, it's always great to see you. Anything else you want to say about this Saints team that to keep the fans enthusiastic? Like, what could possibly happen to make you feel and make them feel better about the upcoming season?
Well, you got to understand this. The early season woes are one thing. I think this team can get back into the race easily. I mean, we're talking about one game here. But I think this division and this wild card shapes up in the last several weeks of this season. You play Atlanta twice in 3 weeks. You got the Bucks. So if you can't, muster a 13-3 season, a 12-4, 11-5, I think your best shot right now 9-7, maybe 10-6. If you really scamper, but they've got to win some of these football games.
You got to start winning now. By the way, Will Lutz, that's a nice sign. 4 for 4, and you see the other guy in that picture, Thomas Morstead. That 68-yard punt, that might be the greatest punter in NFL history. If he's not, he's in the top 5. I know Ray Guy was great. Shane Leckler was great. But Thomas Morstead, I've said this the last 4 out of 5 years. Early in the year, he's been our MVP early in the year until the others catch up. Nice gift certificate for you. It's a little starter for you and your wife. You signed an LSU ball last time because I happened to lose my Saints ball, I think, when I saw you. Unfortunately, so now you get to sign this. We have a nice little media wing down there. John Hendrix. Hey, by the way, if you really want to know the true skinny of Saints stuff, I'm giving him a big plug because he deserves it. Canal Street Chronicles. And let's hope his guy from WDSU, Jim Mora, the former Saints coach, is not right when he says Adrian Peterson is washed up. He said that last night after he was just like, I mean, he didn't want to hear anything about it. Fletcher and Sharif were trying to talk him some sense into him. He goes, I know when a guy running back's washed up, and he's one of them. So hopefully he's wrong. Jim, I love you. Hopefully you're not correct on this one. John Hendrix there. We also had, of course, Fred Hickman. Coming up next, you have a treat right here. I got my man. His name is 5-Star Hero. It's H's all day long. Hickman, Hendrix, Hero. Next right here, Primetime.
Oh yeah, 5-star LSU, and I say they ready for the LSU. No, they ain't ready for the LSU, huh? They ain't ready for the LSU. No, they ain't ready for the LSU. We the best in the league if you looking for talent. LSU going hard, but we beat Alabama, then we going out to Florida. Drown the Gators, everybody getting bucked when we step in the stadium. This the LSU anthem, you know it's a hit. You don't know another rapper two-step like this. See me screaming out the window, yelling purple and gold. I'm an LSU fan, girl, you know how we roll now. Back and back it on up, hey. 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 Way down in the valley. Way down in the valley. Way down in the valley. The purple and gold, purple, I say. Oh yeah. Fly stuff.
I told you this is a sports and entertainment show, and I'm looking forward to this next guest. His name is 5-Star Hero. He is at One Nation Duty. It looks like Dottie on the Twitter, but here he is. But don't take a sip of that water. I'm introducing you.
Gotcha.
Here he is, 5-Star Hero. This is the guy that does the anthems. You can see yourself in this one too.
Yeah,
but look at me.
all over the
Look at
place,
me.
right.
But you're the guy that does all the anthems, and I love it because
man.
a couple years ago, or 3 years ago, I got to know 5-Star.
Hero, right,
Yeah,
right.
which way you want me to go with it?
Oh, 5-Star,
we had
5-Star Hero.
Hendrix.
Yeah, because they got
We had
another
Hickman.
guy that calls himself 5-Star, and I don't want to get it confused.
Right.
So 5-Star Hero. Yeah.
5-Star Hero. My point is you came on my radio show and then you did an a cappella on the Pelicans anthem. Talk about how you got your start in music, first of all, because you're becoming a New Orleans legend.
Right. Starting in music and stuff like that, I really came to music probably about 4 or 5 years ago and stuff like that. And like you say, the Pelicans song.
Yeah.
I came about with the Pelicans anthem. I came about with the Mardi Gras song right after that. Football, is big in our city and stuff, so I came up with the Saints anthem.
Yeah.
From that, I recently worked on this LSU anthem, and hopefully we'll be able to premiere that before we leave. But yeah, it's like being in New Orleans and being around music, our culture, jazz.
Well,
and
we just
second
heard
line.
that LSU anthem. I mean, right from
Yeah.
coming in, that was awesome. That was your brand new one.
Yeah, that's totally exclusive. It's
totally
not nowhere
brand new.
on all. Make sure we get that on all of the
Totally
cameras.
exclusive.
It's
We're the
nowhere.
first one. We got cameras everywhere. The camera will pick you up. You just got to look at me.
Right.
But by the way, my first one was the Pelicans. We played that in the beginning of the show.
Right.
And I thought that was just some songs it takes you a while to kind of like get to learn to love. That one, when I first heard it, I'm like, wow, this thing's got a good kick to it. Love it. So what made you want to start doing anthems for our great teams around the city and state?
Basically, our city being here, just being here, being around the people, being around the excitement, being around Mardi Gras, being around the festivities, knowing that they need music. Like, music is the fun to everything. Wherever you go, you're going to need a song.
Absolutely.
You're going to need something to dance to. You're going to need something to party to. Whether you're at the Pelicans game, Saints game, it's a tennis game, or wherever you at, somebody going to play some music. And it just gets people excited, especially the athletes. So if you want your performance team to play better, give them something to jam to, give them some energy.
Well, I mean, obviously, when I moved back, the crunk song was obviously had been around for a while.
Oh, yeah, right. Stand up and get
that was big. But you've added your own flair. I mean, the crazy thing is your stuff is caught on. You're a good promoter,
Right,
which
yes,
is
sir.
good. You're good at, you're out there promoting your stuff. Did you think these things would get as big as they've gotten?
Coming into it, I never try to limit myself, saying that I can't go this far, I can't do this, because I've seen people from all walks of life come from zero and make it all the way to the top.
Right.
So I just put myself in this situation, like, man, if they can do it, I can do it.
Right.
I just got to believe in myself and keep that faith. It's hard to make other people around you believe in your vision.
No doubt.
But long as you have that vision in place and you know where you're going, it don't really matter who with you.
When did you start? I mean, how long have you been in music? Was it a high school thing? Was it a girly and late thing?
It was after high school and stuff like that. In high school, I was in the girls, man. I was a player.
I have a feeling you still are.
Nah,
you got one girl.
I got one girl. A girl at
Let's
home.
get that
my girl
straight.
with me, right? Yeah, I got one girl, but.
Because she is watching.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's watching somewhere. So she's somewhere on my live tuned in. But in high school, I was into women and stuff like that. Like, you get distracted in high school. High school is an easy distraction.
Yeah.
So they had people that were playing sports, and I didn't want to be an athlete because, I'm kind of small. I wasn't really too athletic. I played in the neighborhood, but I didn't want to play for the school and all of that. And I didn't really have the grades to fit in, chasing behind girls.
Yeah, well, girls are full-time job.
Oh, yeah, man. A woman could tear down the business.
I mean, they will tear it down. Ain't that the truth?
So with that being said, I got to music after high school and stuff like that. Just being around in the city, being around my cousins and people who were doing music, sitting in the studio with them. I said, man, if they can do it, I can do this too. Let me come up with a song. Let me write something. And I wrote a few songs. They were crazy at first, but everything got better. And after time and time of constantly working my pen and working new songs, it got better. And I'm kind of to a point where I know what it takes to make a hit.
Well, now you're at the point where you've got such a reputation. When you have something new come out, people want to hear what's next, what you got.
Right, they gravitate.
And that's a great place to be, isn't it?
Yeah, and I try to keep everything in a nutshell. It's like, it's all Louisiana, from Pelicans, from Saints, from, LSU anthem to the Mardi Gras song. It's all Louisiana. To where I'm from New Orleans, I'm from Louisiana. It's a sales pitch. It works better. I'm around these people 24/7. They know me. I can relate to these people. I'm on their level. I'm not a person from out of town trying to sell you a gimmick.
No doubt.
I'm in the same streets. I'm from here. I'm right around.
Did you grow up Calliope? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in the Iberville project in the 4th ward,
so where'd you
and
go
we
to
moved
school?
to the West Bank.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to school Elba Wicker, and after Elba Wicker, I went to Crossman. It used to be Crossman, next to Jesuit on Carrollton. I went to Crossman. From there, we moved to the West Bank, and I went to Higgins.
You're a Higgins guy.
Yeah, LW Higgins. That's when Higgins finally beat Eric after the 16-year. Skylar Green.
Skylar Green. No. You took it out of my mouth.
Yeah, I went there that year.
Skylar's a big friend of the show.
Yes,
Here, I got to wrap. There you go. Gift certificate for you.
That's perfect. Lovely.
We got you. Hey, I'm going to take this ball right up here so you got more space.
Yeah.
Right there in that musician wing.
Yes,
5-star hero. We're going to be playing your stuff all year long. Got so many people to thank. First of all, the great folks at WLAE, Ron and Jim. We got to thank those guys. They run this whole ship. Obviously, the good folks at CST, Jeff and Ashley, thank you so much. And by the way, my producer, Will Hill, who makes it all happen. Hey, I can't hear anything without Kenny Juno and Jay Smoove. By the way, he is the jack of all trades. Hey, don't forget my new intern, Peter Drennan. And without the Redhead Tsunami, this train would not be on the track. Hey, thank you, everybody. Right here, Primetime Sports. See you next week. Although our name is Lucy's Retired Surfers Bar and Restaurant, there's nothing tired or retired about anything we do. Meet Me at Lucy's has been our slogan and battle cry for nearly 3 decades in New Orleans. Located in the heart of the Warehouse District, Lucy's has truly been the destination spot for nearly every occasion. Whether it's happy hour after work, before and after Saints and Pelicans games, or just a delicious bite to eat at all hours, Lucy's is the perfect place to meet up, hang out, and unwind for a great time. And while you're there, you should try one of our signature surfing cocktails, like the Shark Attack or Blue Whale. And for the truly courageous, our famous Scorpion Tequila Shot. Remember, Meet Me at Lucy's is our slogan, but don't forget to bring your favorite pooch, because our lifeguard chair is always open.